Continuing our reading in Ragweed and Poppy by Avi. Today we have two chapters, a short one and then a regular chapter. Chapter 20, Poppy in the Log House. Inside the log house, deep within the trap, Poppy continued to watch the girl, even as the girl, her chin on the table, watched her. "I'm so glad I caught you," said Susan. "I promise I'll take good care of you. I will. I'll feed you and pet you and keep your cage clean, everything." The middle-sized human came back into the room. "Honey, maybe keeping that mouse on the table isn't such a good idea. We eat there." "But I want to watch her," said the girl. "Why not put her over here?" said the human. "You can sit on the couch and still see her." Okay." Susan picked up the trap with Poppy inside and set it down on a much smaller, lower table. Then the girl sat back on the couch and continued to keep her eyes on Poppy. The other human left the room. Poppy stared back at the girl. Only then did she realize something. That Ragweed, if he did go to Grey House, and if he did get my family to come and try to rescue me, since I've been moved, they won't be able to find me. I'll never get free. Poppy made a decision. If I'm ever going to get out of here, I'll have to do it myself. Susan squirmed forward on the couch to be a little nearer to Poppy. "I don't care that Daddy thinks mice are dirty," she confided in a whisper, or that he doesn't like them. "You know what, Spaghetti? I'm going to keep you forever and ever and ever." Chapter 21, The Mice in the Clearing. Ragweed peered out from beneath the cover of the bush where he had paused. Before him lay a low, open, grassy area. Under the bright, warm sunlight, he became fairly certain it was the same clearing in which he had helped the snake wiggle out of its skin. "Good," he thought. "That means we aren't far from that log house in Poppy." "We're close," he called back to his jittery band of mice, struggling to catch up with him. "Might give them a bit of rest," whispered Basil, giving a backward nod. "They aren't used to this sort of hike. Me either." "Oh, sure," agreed Ragweed. "While we do, how about going over everybody's name again so I can remember them?" "Okay, guys," Basil called. "Line up for a name check." The 8 mice arranged themselves in an untidy line. There was considerable twitching and shifting, while apprehensive eyes kept looking all around, to their friends as well as to Ragweed. Basil stood behind them. "This one is Daisy," he said, putting a paw atop one of the mice's heads. Daisy was small and dainty, with big, staring eyes that had long, dark lashes. Basil moved to the next. "Glory." Glory was stocky with big ears, a short nose, and stubby whiskers. "Candy Tuft." She was small with big, staring eyes and front paws that kept squeezing each other. "Catchfly." Skinny. Catchfly had deep pink eyes and small paws. She kept staring intently at Ragweed as if not believing what she was seeing. "Zinnia." The largest of the mice, Zinnia had a long tail that kept lashing about as if much agitated. When she darted furtive looks at Ragweed, she kept blinking her eyes. The light seemed too strong for her. "Primrose." Primrose was a plump mouse with small, stumpy, and slightly bowed legs, but the look on her face was fierce. While standing there, she kept her front paws clenched. "Rocket." Still damp, Rocket was sitting up on his rear legs, constantly rolling his front paws one over the other, while his eyes kept gazing around at the bushes as if he had never seen anything so unusual. And Toadfax. Toadfax was the smallest of the mice, but he had a long tuft of fur on his head, dyed blue, which kept falling over his face. He was constantly brushing it back with sudden swipes, and movements of his front paws. His jaw was clenched. Ragweed gazed at the 8 mice and couldn't help but think, they sure aren't the most fearless-looking creatures. Then he reminded himself that though They had never traveled so far from Grey House. They had, more or less, managed. Zinnia, the largest mouse, raised a paw. "Yes?" said Basil. "Basil, I'm sorry. I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to do this. And I just remembered that my mother asked me to do something, which I never did. I think it would be better if I went home." Before Basil could respond, Zinnia turned about and raced away in the direction they had come. Catchfly turned to watch her go. Ragweed wondered if she too would leave. The rest of the mice grew twitchier than before, but no one said anything until Basil said, "Sorry," to Ragweed. "9 of us," he said. "Will that work?" asked Daisy. "It's what we have," replied Ragweed with a shrug, but he was thinking, "I hope so." "How about telling us where we're going and what we're going to do?" asked Toadfax as he pushed the tuft of fur out of his eyes. Sure," began Ragweed. "Here's the deal. Not too far from this place, Poppy is in that trap. Least she was last time I saw her. It's like a cage. The trap has closed doors at both ends, and the trap is sitting right next to a human house. Poppy and I tried to open the trap, couldn't budge it. I'm hoping, that all of us together can lift one of those end flaps." "How are we going to do that?" asked Catchfly. Ragweed, not wanting to admit he had no real plan, only said, "You'll learn when we get closer." It was Candytuft, her blue eyes large, who said, "Mr. Ragweed, sir, are those humans around there?" "Maybe." Toadfax said, "And what happens if we can't open the trap?" "Not good," admitted Ragweed. And what do we do if those humans appear?" stammered Rocket. He pulled hard on his nose. "I'm not sure about that either," said Ragweed. The look on Primrose's face turned angry. "Well," she demanded, "what are you sure about?" Ragweed said, "Only that if we don't get Poppy out, she might be totally snuffed." No one said anything to that. There was complete silence. "Guys," said Basil after a moment, "we have to try, for Poppy's sake." The tense mice fidgeted but said no more. "Okay then," said Ragweed. "Everybody ready? The house and the trap are not too far beyond this grassy spot. Nothing between us and Poppy. Let's hit it." That said, Ragweed stepped forward into the grassy area. The other mice started to follow. It was at that moment a cry came from out among the trees. "Ragweed!" At that instant, Ragweed stopped moving, as did all the other mice. "Who's that?" whispered Glory in a frightened voice. "Ragweed!" came the cry a second time. "Who's calling you?" demanded Toadfax. Ragweed, knowing exactly who it was, muttered, "Dang." That's the end of chapter 21.